One of the biggest lessons I learned this year in 2025 is that if you are not in alignment with where you are supposed to be going or what you're supposed to be doing, nothing will flow to you. If you are overthinking, if you are very distracted, if you are just simply not in alignment, everything will be hard for you to receive and you will not get anything that you are looking to attract or manifest. And the reasoning behind is because where focus goes, energy flows. If you are focusing on negativity, drama, chaos, if you are overly chasing whatever your goals are, nothing will come to you that matches that. You will have the complete opposite. So if you're focusing on negativity, you're going to attract negativity. If you are procrastinating, you're not going to attract anything that would come to you if you were to actually do the work. If you are pouring too much into, overspending, materialistic things, the holidays, all these things that really don't matter, you're less likely to focus on the things that really bring you joy, really bring you fruitfulness, and you just won't attract anything. So the moral of the story of today's video is help you guys understand how to eliminate distractions and allow yourself to be in a flow state where everything will be in alignment. I'm going to teach you guys how to get in alignment with a little bit of a story time behind how I learned this. So this past summer, I went through a time where I was feeling like I needed to make a transition in my life from one part of my career to the next step. And that came with saying goodbye to something before I could say hello to something new. And the decision may have been a little bit premature, as in I should have been a little bit more patient because I went through a season about 2 months where I wasn't really attracting anything and I was chasing and I was just not really in flow state. So I made the decision a little prematurely, but once I made another decision, I attracted what I was looking for and I just really started to focus on my vision and things started to flow to me. So what I told myself was that I wanted to find a job where I could have some flexibility, where I could still work on my dreams but also make money. But I also wanted a position where I could be in leadership because where I'm at in life, I really wanted to learn, or where I was at the time and still is, I wanted to gain some new skills, and one of those skills were leadership skills. So I applied to the most crazy job that I never thought that I would be applying to in 2025. And when I applied to the job, I told myself, I was fighting it for months. I had already had this idea in mind, but I was fighting it and I was procrastinating on it and I was just letting myself be distracted by other things. And so I was like, okay, I'm just going to do it. I applied to the job. The HR manager reached out to me like the same day or the next day and I got the job from a phone interview, which could be a red flag to some people. But I got the job simply off about a 15-20 minute conversation that the HR manager and I were having, and she offered me the job based on what we talked about and the energy that she got from me, hence being in alignment, something that we want to talk about. And so I got the job. When I started the job, maybe like a week in, I told one of the other leadership members that I wanted to be in leadership at some point. Obviously, it's not something that I wanted to press about, but I did want to just put that on their radar. And she was very excited to hear that. And apparently me and a few other people were, interested in being in leadership. And so it was a little bit of competition, but I didn't look at it that way because I just was being who I am and it just came easily to me anyway. So I was promoted within 2 months of me working there, but they had already wanted to promote me within 1 month of me being there, of them seeing my work ethic, my dependability, my leadership skills, and my personality. They wanted to promote me immediately. So, and I also said that I was definitely overqualified for the job anyway, but I will say this is my first leadership position, so I didn't really know what to expect, but I knew like I would do well at it because it's something that I had been wanting to do. And I just know my personality and how I operate as an employee and just as a person overall. So throw that in there. But anyway, so I got promoted within 2 months and I was like, dang. So I really walked in here with a plan and I executed and I got what I came here for, within 2 months, and it showed me the power of being in alignment. Because although the job was easy and still is easy, it came with some challenges, but I still had to be in alignment to a high degree, not just at work, but in other areas of my life. So those are what I want to talk about, what I did within those 2 months to help me to get into alignment and allow things to flow to me so that I can, reach certain success, but also just be in a state of attracting instead of chasing. I will say I did not chase this opportunity. It literally came to me so naturally. And like I said, I know it was because I was in alignment. Being in alignment, people have different ideas of what that means. So I'm going to tell you guys what I think that means as I go through these 4 things that I did to get into alignment and change my life, because I pretty much did change my life. So first of all, I want to say that overthinking and analysis paralysis are distractions, because I want you guys to understand that when you're not in alignment, you are distracted. Overthinking is a very silent way to hold you back from reaching any goals. Analysis paralysis is another one. Analysis paralysis is when you are just doing all this research and gaining all this knowledge, but it's so much that you don't even take action from it. You kind of just paralyze yourself, you get stuck, and you don't make any moves, you don't take any action. Those are 2 of the top ways that people stay stuck. They stay where they are and they don't make any progress because they're just in their head too much. So, like I said, overthinking and analysis paralysis, they are ways of self-sabotaging in a way, and it keeps you from, well, you're in your own way. It's not anybody else that's causing this, it's you causing it. One, out of fear, out of insecurity, and because you know too much and you don't really know where to start. People and environments are distractions. So if you are around people who are always gossiping, who are always in drama, who are always talking about negativity, you are setting yourself up for failure, and you are also being distracted. Bad habits are huge distractions. So overspending, if you are someone, I remember I went through a time where I thought that going back to school was the only answer to success. That's a distraction. That's just what we've been programmed to think. Being lazy, like I said, and procrastinating, those are distractions. Doom scrolling is a distraction. Doom scrolling is a distraction. So if you're someone who uses TikTok and Instagram and you just sit and scroll all day, you're being distracted. You're being controlled. Distractions are also another way I like to say you're being controlled. You are allowing something that's external, sometimes internal, such as overthinking, to control the actions you do or don't take. They're distractions. So if you are, like, for instance, this holiday season, I didn't buy any gifts for anybody. And I talked about this in a previous video, because I would always spend all my money on these Christmas gifts. But then I had a huge healing awakening where I realized that all this stuff is a scam anyway, and that I was people pleasing. I was allowing these gifts in, the holidays to give me a chance to make other people see that I was worthy. And I stopped doing that 2 years ago, but this year was my first year of not buying anyone anything. Last year, I at least did, like, my husband and maybe a few of my siblings, but this year, I did no one. A lot of people use these holidays as a way to distract from their reality and distract them from what they're supposed to be doing from their lives. It distracts them from taking action. Instead of you working on your goals and your vision, or, whatever it is you want to attract, you're just like, oh, I want to spend all my money on Christmas gifts and going to Christmas parties and going out, because it just makes you feel good, it's comfortable, and it's just a way to not pay attention to what you really need to address. So there are so many distractions in the world. I mean, it's almost endless. But like I said, the main ones, taking substances, binge watching TV shows, scrolling on social media, materialistic things, over consuming, whether it's over consuming content or over consuming materialistic things, clothes, shoes, things of that nature. Gossip, being around the wrong people, talking to the wrong people, being in the wrong environments, whether that's your home, being in a messy environment, so not cleaning your space, not cleaning your car, but also, like, maybe at the wrong job that's keeping you away, is, overworking you to where you can't focus on other things, or just draining you too much. There are a lot of things that could be distracting you, that's keeping you away from being in alignment. So now we're going to talk about how to get in alignment. Focusing on the present and what you can control today in this moment is one of the number one things that you can do to get in alignment. Overthinking and analysis paralysis also comes because you're so focused on the future, you're so focused on the outcome that it's not allowing you to take action today. But if you change your mindset into taking life day by day, making a plan for what you can do each day. So rather, say you want to build a YouTube channel, instead of you focusing on how you're going to reach 1,000 subscribers in a certain amount of time, you just focus on how many videos you can upload in a week. Okay, 3 times a week. Which days are you going to upload a YouTube video? Maybe that's Monday, Wednesday, Friday. Okay, today is Monday. What time are you going to record that video? And how much time are you going to give yourself to edit it and upload it? Those are some steps that you can take with any type of goal you have. Maybe you want to save a certain amount of money. You want to save $1,000. Okay. So instead of you focusing on that end goal of how long it's going to take you to get there, you can do one of two things. You can divide $1,000 by however long you want to do it, and then based on how many times you get paid, you just break it down that way. Or you can say, for the next year, I'm going to save $50 every paycheck until I hit $1,000. Either way, you sit down, you make a plan, and you execute on it. Instead of just focusing on the end result, you focus on what you can do today to make a step or a stride towards what you want to accomplish. So, number one, when you want to get in alignment, focus on the present. Don't focus on the past. Don't let what you've done in the past or what happened in the past to control what you do or don't do today. That's one of the top things that keep people stuck and keep people paralyzed from making any moves, is they let the past control them. They don't think that they can change. They don't think that they can grow. They don't think that they can become better because of whatever they've done in the past or whatever has happened in the past. But the past is the past. It can't be changed. It can't be altered. But you have control over your future. So the only way you can control your future is by focusing on what you can do right now in this present moment. My best friend, she always says, be where your feet are. And that's very important. Be where you are right now in this moment. If you're making a plan and you can't make a change today, you can't do something to act on it today, you need to change the plan. Any plan you have needs to be something that you can actually do as an action step today in that exact moment. Don't focus on what you want to do. Of course, have a business plan or whatever you're wanting to do, whatever you're wanting to accomplish. Of course, have a long-term plan. But if you have a plan for what you can do today in this moment to get to that end goal, you will never get there. So be present. Allow the past to be the past. Allow the future to be something that you look on every now and then to get inspiration to remind you where you are. But the main goal is to be present and to be where you are and to be content with the changes and the actions that you can make in this exact moment. So to take it back to my job, I was very present in the sense of when I'm at work, I'm at work. I'm not focused on, my business. I'm not thinking about my business. I'm not thinking about becoming a leader. I'm not thinking about any mistakes I may have made the day before. I'm so present in what I need to be doing at that moment that it allowed me to naturally be in alignment. I wasn't overly in my head. I wasn't overly thinking about things that was keeping me distracted and keeping me from making silly mistakes or keeping me from just being focused on what I'm supposed to be doing. And that was a huge thing for me. And I still use that to this day. Being present is very important with anything you want to do in life, but even just living on a daily basis, being present and not allowing the past or the future to control you has so much power. So focus on being present. And like I said, it doesn't matter in what aspect of life you're talking about, whether that's healing, whether that's career goals, financial goals, relationship goals, whatever. If you can just focus on today and what you can do today, it will make a huge return as you go about your life each day. Next thing, to get into alignment, be yourself and do your best at everything that you do in life. How you do one thing is how you do everything. So first of all, when it comes to being yourself, we live in a world now where no one knows who they truly are. They have been programmed and brainwashed to see themselves differently based on what the world wants them to see. And they've also been in this huge loop of comparison from social media, from friends, from family, from all these TV shows that have just made you think about yourself in such a negative light. So no one really knows themselves. So first you have to go on a healing journey to really learn who you are and let go of all these programmings and negative thoughts and beliefs that you thought were you but aren't you. So Be yourself in a sense of stay true to your values, stay true to your morals, stay true to the strong foundation that your parents set, if they set any good morals and foundations, and also to what you set. You don't have to follow the crowd. You shouldn't follow the crowd. You shouldn't fit in. We are all born so uniquely. We all look differently. No matter how many times people say you look like so and so, you are yourself physically and internally. And it's so important that you allow that to shine. Don't conform to what everyone else says or to what everyone else does, because real people will recognize it. And if you want to be respected, if you want to be treated at a high level, you need to be yourself and stand firm in what you believe in. You also want to do your best at everything. And when I say everything, I mean big and small. So taking care of your household, but also taking care of your business at work. Me personally, I'm really big on like how you do one thing is how you do everything. You won't always be perfect at everything. There will be some leaks sometime, just depending on how chaotic life is. But you want to always try to do your best at everything you do in life. So me at work, in that job it is not, I still work there, but I obviously don't want to be there for a long period of time. That's not my dream job. But guess what? I'm there for the moment. I'm there to grow, to learn. It's serving the needs that I have right now. So I'm still going to always do my best at it. I'm not going to show up and half-ass the job just because it's not my end all be all. And a lot of people screw themselves up and they mess up their alignment and their ability to attract things because they're in this negative mindset of thinking that you're too entitled for certain things. And that is just not a good spirit to be in. You want to be grateful for everything you have in life, every opportunity, every resource that you have. But if you have this snotty attitude of thinking that you're bigger than the program, it's not going to be good for you. So I experienced it at this job, and that's how I learned that. I had coworkers who, thought they were bigger than the program. They thought that they deserved certain titles and certain positions and getting promotions. And because they were so full of ego, they end up, either getting fired or being demoted or just not getting the promotion at all. And then they end up just leaving. But it's because you thought, oh, I'm bigger than this. I deserve this. And I'm good at it. I'm the best at it. So I should just already go ahead and get what I deserve. No, that's just not the mentality to have in life. Your mindset and your perspective is everything. Your spirit is everything. People can feel if you are being a genuinely good person, if you genuinely want something because you want to help people, you want to serve others, or if you wanted to do it out of ego. So do your best at it, no matter if you want to be there long term or not. Have a heart of service. And that's just with work, but that's with anything in life. When you're at home, don't just clean up because you think that you have to clean up or it's a part of your role as a wife or as a husband, but do it because you want to serve the household, you want to serve God, and you want to be able to show God that you can steward well with anything that you receive. So if you want to get in alignment, be yourself and do your best at everything in life. Okay, this next one is really huge and it has to do with distractions. So reduce the energy leaks. So energy leaks are things that are taking up your energy because you aren't in alignment, essentially. So for example, people pleasing is a huge energy leak. You are focused on people pleasing, or you are people pleasing because you're either insecure, you have just been in this loop of always wanting to make other people happy. You want other people to see your worth. That is an energy leak. Bad habits are energy leaks. Overthinking are energy leaks. When you are not healed, you have trauma wounds, those are energy leaks. When you say yes to things, when you want to say no, energy leaks. And when I say bad habits, that could be anything, whether that's doom scrolling, spending too much money, overthinking, substance use, going to the club, anything that's just not good for your spirit and that aren't helping you to grow and be better are energy leaks, and they're taking too much of your time and your energy. That's what makes it an energy leak. So you want to reduce those. And basically what I do to reduce these things is it just really depends on what aspect, because I don't drink or smoke, so that's already one huge thing that I can cut out when it comes to substance use, because most of the time when you use substance use, you also do a lot of other things to combine that. So you may spend a lot of money on it, you may go to the club a lot, you may hang out with the wrong crowd a lot, which causes a whole lot of other bad habits. You may eat a lot of unhealthy bad foods. So because I don't do that one simple thing, it allows me to not indulge in other things that are bad habits. For me personally, some of my bad habits were binge watching TV shows. So what I did with that is I just realized it's just taking too much of my energy, and anytime I'm watching TV, it's usually because I am not wanting to do things that I really need to do, whether that's for my business, editing content, things of that nature. So once I realized that, it was easier for me to stop doing it, and then I also just set up boundaries with it. So, only watching it on Sundays, or only watching TV when I'm cooking, or only watching it like at nighttime on the weekend before I go to bed, but not just doing it throughout my day because I feel like doing it. So a lot of ways to reduce energy leaks is to set up strong boundaries with it. But also, when it comes to those leaks that are more personal, such as unhealed wounds and people pleasing, things that have to do with other people in relationships, is really just all about healing. So you may need to go to therapy, start journaling, watching content from people who are therapists or people who are spiritually enlightened to help you see things from a higher level, to see things from a spiritual level, growing your relationship with God and really getting in the Word. These are all things that can help you to grow internally and to change the way you see things and change the way you maybe look at the past or look at relationships that you may have in your life, forgiving others, not being so prideful, not being so full of ego. These are all things that play into energy leaks and that are all distractions and keep you out of alignment. So reduce the energy leaks, work on your character, work on healing, work on letting go of bad habits, and watch how your life will change for the better. Me personally, one of the biggest energy leaks I had during this time was probably talking on the phone with family members that I didn't really need to be talking to as much, and probably overthinking. Once I tackled those two things, my life changed. And then lastly, it's important that you plan and execute on those habits that will create a better life for you and will create your dream self and your dream life. So if you want to, get in shape, focus on, creating routines for going to the gym, for cooking, for eating healthier, and also creating more boundaries for not eating out and not eating junk food. Set up some standards for yourself. Limit talking on the phone with people who are not pouring into you, who are taking your energy, saying no more. But planning is very important. So like for me with my financial goals, I always plan those things out. I break it down so that I can reach my financial goals. And then business goals as well. That's something that I'm getting more into. So, just learning from other experts and writing down what it is I need to do to execute. But like I said earlier, you can all plan all you want, but if you don't execute and take action, you might as well not plan. You just have a plan without any way of making progress. You can't make progress if you don't take action. So you want to plan and execute on the habits. And I said habits because most of the time with any goal in life, you're going to have to do one thing or two things for long periods of time, daily, weekly, monthly, yearly, depending on what the goal is. So like I said, financial goals, usually it's monthly, maybe even weekly or bi-weekly, depending on how often you get paid. You got to do a set thing to reach a financial goal. Fitness goals, we all know that is life going. That is something that you will never stop doing if you have the right mindset. So you need to have a routine for yourself every week of what that looks like. When it comes to your career goals, if you want to be a content creator, everyone knows you have to post weekly, post daily, sometimes a couple of times daily, depending on what your goals are or what platform you're using. So just know that if you want to change anything about yourself or about life, you have to be repetitive at it. You have to execute on it daily and not just something that you do every once in a while. So like in a work, you have to listen to those videos consistently, talk to God consistently, pray consistently. It's not just something that you can do one time or, once a month. It has to be something that you're very intentional about and something that you actually execute on as often as you can. So getting in alignment is just all about limiting those things that aren't serving you and pouring more into those things that are serving you so that you can naturally attract what you want. So you're being present, you're being yourself and doing your best with what you have and with where you are in life at that exact moment. You're reducing those energy leaks and those things that are draining you and not giving you any life. They're not pouring into your life force energy. Instead, it's draining your life force energy. And then you're also making plans and executing. You're not just sitting back and thinking over it and not making any strides towards it. You're not taking any action. You're actually taking action. You're actually making a plan and you're executing on it. So this is what I did over the past 6 months to really change my life for the better, to the point where now I have more clarity. I'm attracting great things. I'm attracting new ideas, new opportunities, and everything is flowing to me. I don't feel like I have to go out of my way in the sense of, chasing things in order to change my life. I'm able to really think clearly and make sound decisions. I hope you guys enjoyed this video and you can get some tips from it so that you can get in alignment with your higher self and with the life that you want to create. And I will see you guys in my next video. Thank you so much for watching.